Hi, Georgie.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Clay Table. Your host, Alex Kaiser here, and your co-host, Pennywise. The classic version. This second episode of Show and Tip. As you saw in the thumbnail, this episode is going to focus on a specific type of clay, air dry clay. I have not used many air dry clays, although the one that I started with provided great outcomes, so I stuck with it. And that is DAS clay, D-A-S. As you can see here, here's one brick of it. This is how it starts. And this is, I believe, 2 pounds. Let me verify. Yes, 2 pounds of clay per brick. And it's a great clay to work with. I would say I don't know if I want to necessarily say it's a beginner's clay, because you can produce pretty detailed and complex outcomes using this clay. So, it all depends on your skill set and, how far you're willing to take it. But DAS clay is an air dry clay, meaning that it does require water in order to stay malleable and continue to form. And one thing that I wanted to provide tips on today was, how do you keep your clay in a workable state? So, that was my question when I first started. I no longer use air dry clay. I did switch over to monster clay, which comes in tubs like this, and it is a wax-based clay. However, this is where I started and where I learned a lot just about the basic fundamentals of sculpting. And so yeah, how do you keep it in a workable state? That was something that I had to research and I had to look into. The information is out there, but it's not really readily available, at a quick search of Google. So when you start out with your DAS clay, it's going to come in a brick, and they keep it moist in the package. However, when you take it out of the package, it's going to start to dry up, not quickly, but fairly quickly. Within hours, it'll start to get tougher and tougher. It starts to get whiter, especially around the edges. So you do want a spray bottle. You can get those anywhere at hobby shops or Walmart, whatever it is. Mister, spray bottle, whatever you use, with water in it in order to keep it in a workable state. And when you're working on a project like this, you're going to find yourself spraying it every 10 minutes, 15, 20 minutes. I don't think there's any real set time. It's just, depends on how wet you want it and what kind of a state that works best for you. So before we get into the tip, which will be that information, just wanted to give you a little show for the classic Pennywise. He's not a traditional bust with the body or the torso. Kind of looks like he's popping out of maybe the ground or a sewer. I didn't go into that kind of detail, but he came out pretty cool. Like you've seen me use in other videos, I did use, once again, a resin and or acrylic teeth set. You can get them from Amazon, and once you create your gums and your gum line and your tongue, you can kind of just insert them, and you kind of have to sculpt the gums around them, but it just makes for a much easier process of sculpting teeth. Well, I guess lack thereof sculpting teeth. But yeah, he's also got a acrylic set of eyes, 26 millimeter. And for this one, as you can see in the back here, this, again, I made this guy over a year ago, and I've only been in this hobby for about 1.5 years. So it was in the beginning, and I was playing around with LED lights, and I made this guy have some LED eyes. So he's extra creepy, especially when the lights are off. So I thought that was pretty neat. It was something that I played around with, and it worked out pretty well. pretty cool little effect. I no longer do that anymore, but it was fun, and I have a few busts like that, and may see some other ones on some videos here in the near future. However, he was pretty cool. I did get this wig off of Amazon. I get a lot of this stuff off of Amazon. It just, you can find it, it's out there. This red wig that I glued to him, and it worked out pretty well. It did require some fluffing and hairspray in order to kind of keep it where I wanted it. And then this, his little clown, I don't know, outfit, scruff. You can get those at like hobby shops. Had no idea until I just ran across it in like the material section, fabric section. So yeah, clown scruff. I don't know. I'm not really sure what people use it for, but it works great for this. So yeah, this is the classic It, as we all know. There has been a couple new It movies. I did like the newest one, not the newest one, the chapter 1. I wasn't a huge fan of chapter 2. I thought it was a little bit too CGI for me. I kind of like the classic horror movies, and the less CGI, the more raw you can make it. I think it just produces a little bit of a scarier movie. But that's neither here nor there. So, when you're working with air dry clay, as I said, you'll need a sprayer. So as you're working it and you're using your tools, and you're gonna wanna continue to spray him to keep it at a workable state and keep it moist. And when you're done, let's say you put a couple hours into him and you're over it, it happens. Let's say you put 8 hours into it and you're over it, you know. I can sometimes dedicate some time. I have some patience when it comes to this hobby. So you will want a couple of either grocery bags, or one trash bag also works. Sometimes I've made busts where grocery bags won't do justice because they're not big enough. Grocery bags also tend to have holes in them, so you do want to check that out before you use that. Make sure you double up, triple up, whatever the case. You're just essentially trying to lock in moisture. You're trying to lock in the water that's on the bust. When you're done working on it, even if you're only a little bit into the project and you just slapped some clay onto an armature, that's fine. You can throw a grocery bag over it, and essentially just like that, and you're gonna tie off the bottom. So you don't have to make this thing airproof. You don't need it. It holds it in pretty well. So you can either tie the handles, however you want to. Just try to trap most of the, I guess air out of it. So you kind of want to push the air out a little bit, and then again, airtight isn't the word, but you want to try to get most of the air out. And like for instance, this bag right here has a hole in the top. So would it be detrimental if you didn't double bag it? No. However, it does allow a little bit of air in and can harden a little bit more than what you may want. So if you double up the bag, good to go. Grocery bags are really good. They're bigger. So if you're working on bigger projects or even a small project, it doesn't matter. Grocery bags just don't tend to have holes in them, so they work well. So you can keep them in this form for a few days. Every couple to few days though, you will want to remove it. Catching some hair here. And you're gonna wanna hit it with a mister again, even if you're not gonna work on it. So if you're not gonna work on it, that's fine. Hit it with the mister again, hit it with your water sprayer, and just get that moisture back in there, and then cover them up again if you're not gonna work on it. But you just wanna make sure that you're keeping it moist so that it can stay in a workable state for as long as it takes you to finish. A bust like this took me about 2 weeks approximately. Sometimes they take a week depending on how much time I devote to it. But I'll work on it for a day, and then I'll bag it, take it off the next day. Maybe I'll go a few days, without working on it. But it's that simple. Just one bag and one water sprayer to keep your air dry clay, water-based clay, at a workable state. So it's that simple. The information, again, is not out there as I would have wanted it to be. So I did have to do some research, and I had to ask some questions to some of the sculptors out there who were nice enough to comment and just give me a little bit of a heads up on information like that. So yes, so anyways, that's essentially one tip for keeping clay in a workable state. And another thing that I just want to throw in there too is do be careful with air dry clay, because I worked with it for approximately 6 months. I did probably 6 busts in 6 months and didn't have a problem. I did not wear gloves, and then one day I just broke out in allergies on my hands, and they were super dry. And it makes sense because the clay is sucking out the moisture from your hands, and it just got super dry. It required a lot of lotion to get my hands back. So I started wearing rubber gloves, a tighter fitting rubber glove, so that I didn't have all this excess glove in order to, continue sculpting, because I do use my hands a lot. I don't always use tools, I form with my fingers, and having a lot of excess glove, just gets in the way. So wear gloves if you need to. Other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed Pennywise, or It. I did not, this was, again, back in the beginning days of my sculpting, so I wasn't even making videos. So I didn't record him, I didn't time-lapse him, I didn't do anything. I just, that goes with a lot of my sculpts. You guys have seen some of my other videos on my channel with some of the more recent sculpts that I make out of, I made Venom. He was out of air dry clay, so go check out that video. But the rest following that were monster clay. So, as always, thank you so much for tuning in to the clay table. Creepy It over here appreciates you as well. I hope you guys have fun sculpting. Take your time. Don't be discouraged. Sometimes they start out looking like crap, but you can turn it around. Just devote some time to it. And yeah. Anyways, y'all be safe, be good. Alex Kaiser and It out. Cheers.